What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com. So in today's video, we're going to do something different and talk about things you shouldn't model in SketchUp. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. All right, so when you think about this, the idea behind this is the idea of diminishing returns, meaning at a certain point when you add things to your model, you're no longer really getting a whole lot of benefit, and you might even be creating more issues than you're solving with the level of detail that you're adding. And so we're trying to basically put as little effort into our models as possible and make them as changeable as possible. And so the first example of this is framing. So it can be tempting to come in here and actually model out all of the framing inside of something like a wall. Now that's fine if you're actually trying to illustrate the framing for some reason, but if you're actually trying to just model out a wall that you're going to take over into layout or something like that, it's probably more beneficial to not do that. And the reason for that, there's a couple reasons. The first is it takes a lot of time to come in here and model out all of this framing. So you have to come in here, you have to create all of the individual boards, set up the spacing, things like that. But in addition to that, once you've created that framing, you're not really getting a whole lot of benefit out of this. Like generally speaking, and you can use framing details to show things like framing above doors and things like that, but in general, you can just put a note on your drawing that just says walls should be framed at whatever the spacing is using X kind of framing. Something like that. You don't really need to see it. Pretty much anyone that's built before can go out and set up your studs and lay them out based on the proper spacing without needing to see it in a model. There's not a whole lot of benefit there. And the other thing about this is if you model to this level of detail, making changes and adjustments can get really frustrating because there's all of this additional detail that you have to change, right? You have to change where your headers are. You have to change all of this framing for something that you didn't really need to show in the first place. Where if you come in here and you just kind of offset your walls in, pull this up, and then show your door opening, as long as the dimensions of your wall have been modeled properly, you can show every piece of information that's needed inside of layout without modeling to this level of detail. Now there is an exception to this rule, and we're going to use the studio and garage concept by Mike Brestol in order to illustrate that. Now where I would recommend modeling things like framing is situations like this house. So first off, I would always recommend modeling out the framing of things like this extension on the end of the building, especially if you're going to render it. A lot of the time people will just kind of extrude their roof across and it's just kind of like this uniform flat thing and it doesn't render very well. But I would say the exposed framing is a little bit of the part of the aesthetic of this design. So in this case, right, you probably would want to model out the boards that make up this roof, especially if they're going to be visible like this, so that you can actually see them and make decisions based on them. Things with interior walls, the framing isn't necessarily going to make that big of a difference, but if it's an aesthetic thing like this, you might want to think about modeling to that level of detail. Now, one other thing that you should usually not model. Again, these are all rules that are here to save you time unless there's some like aesthetic purpose for it. So say that you were to come in here and model out your, say that you were to have some kind of fastener right here. So like a hex head or something like that. So if you model out a fastener like this, usually doing something like this is going to be a higher level of detail than I would recommend. Only because if I come in here and I model out all of these little hex head fasteners right here, and then I decide to make a change, again, that's just more stuff I have to manage, but it's also more stuff that SketchUp has to actually show. So usually I don't recommend modeling down to the level of the fastener unless it's adding something to the overall design. And even then, if you are going to model to the level of fastener like this, I would highly recommend that you take all of those and put them on a tag so that you can toggle them off, right? So you would tag them. We would call this fasteners. That way, when you don't need them, you can turn them off so they're not sitting in your view like this. But usually modeling out little things like screws and nails and fasteners is something that you're not really getting a whole lot of benefit to, and it's just more stuff you're going to have to manage in the future. All right, so next up is the way that you handle construction details. Now, it can be tempting to come in here and draw something very detailed. So for example, we've got this brick and block cavity wall by Scott that I'm just bringing in as an example model. So this is a very detailed model showing things like flashing, it's showing horizontal reinforcing inside of the block. It's got all the rigid insulation, everything like that. So it's super detailed, very good for conveying construction detail. That being said, you never want to model to this level of detail in your general model. A, because it's going to create a ton of additional geometry that you don't really need. But B, because if you ever have to make changes, it's going to be a nightmare because you're going to have to come in here. And if you look at these bricks, they're modeled as individual bricks. So you have to cut each one of them if you move things around in your model, and you don't want that. What you want to do instead is you want to model your walls to the depth that this condition is going to be, right? So I've modeled this wall to that same depth. So when I come in here and I create a top-down view, right, for layout or something like that, it shows the proper depth of the wall assembly. But I've not gone to the level of detail of modeling individual bricks or things like that. Now, if you have architectural things in your model, so for example, like the way that this stone is going to be in here for this sill is probably going to be important. You can leave that in here, but I would only model to a simple level of detail like this for your actual SketchUp model. That way, if you have to come in here and make changes, right? So if you want to move this window over by say 12 inches, you just have to pull a simple wall and then move your window over like this, and you're good to go. So in this situation, I wouldn't model much beyond this level of detail unless there's something architecturally you're trying to show. That way you can make changes and adjustments really quickly within SketchUp and keep your performance high. All right, so another thing that you might think about not modeling is modeling things like molding and trim. I understand that sometimes these can be very important for the way the look and a feel of a space is going to be, especially if you're trying to illustrate what that final condition might look like. But what you're doing is you're creating a whole lot of additional geometry that you have to manage. So if we look at this wood trim at the top of this wall right here, it definitely does contribute to the look and feel of the building, but it's just a lot of additional stuff. And again, if we have to make changes like move walls around or things like that, it can be really difficult to manage. So it's something that if you can get away with not modeling, I would recommend not modeling. Now, if you are going to model your wood base and trim, one thing that you should think about doing is you should think about modeling it inside of a group. And so right now, for example, notice how these when I created them, got created as just kind of raw geometry in here. Then I would have to come in here and try to pick them up and group them, but I might pick up this extra geometry, you know, not necessarily a lot of fun to mess with. But what you can do instead is you can take that geometry. So I'm going to double click on it, right click to make it a group, but then you can actually use follow me by selecting the bottom of your wall, activating the follow me tool. So if I activate follow me right here, then you can right click on this and click on edit group. And notice how that follow me tool is still active, and you can click on this. That way your wood base is going to be created in here, but it's going to be created as a group. And so one other thing that I would highly recommend due to some issues that it can cause is I would recommend that you put all of your trim. So you could call it trim or trim and base or whatever you wanted to, but I highly recommend that you put all of that on a tag so you can toggle it off. Because when you start dealing with setting things up for layout, so say I was to take a section cut like this and send this to layout, it's going to mess up the dimensioning of my wall, right? Because if I come in here and I try to pull a dimension and I accidentally pull it off like the middle or the side of the base right here, then it's not going to show me the correct dimension of my wall like this. So what I would recommend is I would recommend you setting up that trim so that you can toggle it off while you're dimensioning out your walls and things like that. And you don't necessarily want this showing up on floor plan views. So if you do end up modeling this, make sure you set it up where you can turn it off when you don't need it. All right, so another thing that I highly recommend you try to avoid modeling is furniture. So say we've got a model like this one. So this is just a sofa that I found online from Polly and Bark. But notice how there's a lot of parts and pieces in here. Now you could come in here and you could try to model out a sofa like this if you wanted to. But unless you have like a significant reason to do that, I don't recommend that. Instead, I recommend trying to use any models that you can find in the 3D warehouse and just repurposing those, because spending a lot of time modeling things like furniture or model context is, in my opinion, unless it's like a highlight of your space or something like that, you just kind of hit a point of diminishing returns. So what I recommend instead is I recommend that you go into the 3D warehouse. And one of the tools that they have in the 3D warehouse is you can actually do an image search. So what I can do is I can drop an image. So I just took a screenshot of that sofa. You can drop this in and it'll actually search the 3D warehouse for models that look like the one that you had selected. And so in this case, for example, you've got a couple models in here that look very similar to that sofa. Well, you could just bring this in and you don't have to spend any time modeling it at all. And even if you wanted to bring this in and then make some adjustments, right? So if you wanted to swap out the feet or something like that, you could avoid modeling out the rest of this sofa just by bringing in something from the 3D warehouse. So next up, we're going to take a look at the Community Dance Center model from SketchUp. This is the SketchUp for iPad example model. It's a great example of this next principle, which is don't spend a lot of time modeling additional context outside of your main model. So for example, this is a dance center model that they're doing a schematic design on. And so what they've done is they've provided masses around this building rather than spending time modeling out detailed contextual models around this. Because a lot of the time, all you're trying to do is you're trying to get your look and feel of your space and how your building's going to fit in, but you don't need to go to the super detail level because it doesn't really get you anything. In this case, these boxes that are next door indicate where the additional buildings are and things like that without you having to spend a lot of time creating that model. So don't spend a lot of time modeling context that's really only there to give you a size and a feel of how something's going to fit in a space. And don't spend time modeling things that you're not really going to be able to see for most of your views inside of your model. And while we're here, this actually illustrates another great principle, which is don't create geometry when a texture will do. So if you look at this model, it's got kind of this screen on the outside that you can see through, right? So you can see the mullions of the glass behind this, but they have not come in here and modeled out every one of these little pieces in here. What they've done instead is they've used an image with transparency built into it to simulate that material. So instead of coming in here and trying to model that and creating like millions and millions of vertices and edges and things like that, they've just applied a simple texture to a flat face in here. And so if you look at your hidden geometry in here, notice this is kind of a triangulated face in here, but it's nothing that's super heavy. So they've completely avoided the modeling process of coming in here and creating a mesh just by applying a material with transparency. So anytime you can create detail with just an image instead of creating that model detail, it's going to save you time and effort. Okay, and so this isn't necessarily something that you shouldn't model as much as a choice that you can make. So if you've ever tried to add trees and grass and things like that inside of a SketchUp model, you know that gets really heavy, right? So if I go in here and I search for a tree, so I'm just going to do a simple tree right here, we can look at all of these different options, but a lot of these have a ton of geometry inside of them, right? So this tree, for example, this little orange tree has 227,000 polygons in it. So just a massive amount of geometry that SketchUp has to display, right? This Hoogstam Boom tree has the same issue. It's got 13,000 pieces or polygons in it, and it's 2 megabytes. Now, if you look at what Mike Brestel has done in this model, what he's done instead is he's used simple 2D face me images. So these are just two-dimensional planes, and you can see it by looking at the top right here, but instead of adding all of that plant geometry, he's just got this in here, and if I triple click on this and go into my entity info, and I don't know that I've picked it all up, but we've got a lot of it. If we go into the entity info, this only has 135 entities in it per tree. So these are very lightweight. They still face the camera and they still give you an idea of where trees and vegetation would go. So while you're probably not going to be modeling your plants anyway, you're going to be trying to download them. Depending on what you're trying to do, unless you're illustrating a certain kind of tree or something like that, you might think about using these two-dimensional face me components instead. So the principle behind all of this is only model what you need and always be thinking about the ramifications to the amount of work that you have to do. So the lighter you can keep your model, the easier it is to adjust and make changes, the easier your life's going to be in the future. And then consider creating some detailed models for things like construction details and things like that that can be referenced separately. If you have any questions about anything we talked about in this video, feel free to leave them down below. If you do want to learn more about how to use SketchUp, I will link to my course on this page. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.